A very good morning to you on this 31st day of October 2023. Safe to say we are just 61 days away from 2024. Now, this is the morning drift here on Lookuptv on a morning that His Majesty, the King of England, King Charles III, and Queen Camilla are in the country. Of course, their Majesties landed in the country yesterday at around 10:34 p.m. at night, and of course they're expected to be in the country for the next 4 days from today to the 3rd of November 2023. Of course, King of England, this comes at a time when, of course, the President has been vocal on boosting relations between different countries, and of course Kenya and the United Kingdom do enjoy good and warm relationships. Now, this is the first visit by the King of England, that is King Charles III and Queen Camilla, to a Commonwealth country after taking over the monarch after the death of Queen Elizabeth on September 8th, 2022. Now, of course, there have been calls by various groups and various leaders in terms of compensation to those who lost their lives during the the colonial period. Of course, we'll be waiting to see whether the king will address that. Now, remember, the king is also expected to visit various parts of the country, including Nyeri County and Mombasa County. But of course, this morning, I believe they'll be having an address at State House in Nairobi together with President William Samoei Ruto. But of course, Queen Camilla is also expected to have an itinerary to go through with the First Lady, that is Rachel RUTO, starting today. Of course, that includes going through various women empowerment projects here in the country. The king's visit to the country you don't say it would be very significant to the Kenyan economy, and of course in various aspects in terms of not only boosting relations, but also ensuring that the bilateral relations between Kenya and the United Kingdom is boosted even more. This comes, by the way, days after the king himself did host a number of Kenyans at at his residence back in Buckingham Palace in the United Kingdom. That is in line with celebrating the relations that Kenya and the United Kingdom do enjoy. That is a story that will be keeping tabs for you throughout the day and in the next 4 days, as it is of great importance. That is the visit by King Charles III and Queen Camilla. Now, today, the Kenya National Examinations, that is the KPSEA exams and the KCP exams, enter day 2. Even as concerns over security on the rise. This comes after 2 police officers died yesterday after a vehicle they were traveling into, of course, an examination center in northeastern Kenya did step on an IED, and of course leading to the death of 2 officers, with around a couple others injured in that particular attack. That is another story that continues to make headlines across the country, even as investigations into the death of the 5 students of Arap Moi Primary School continues. Remember, the 2 of the officials of the amusement recreational park have been arrested in connection with that particular incident. Now, of course, parents are continuing to call for justice, calling on the Ministry of Interior and the Ministry of Education to ensure that, if at all, the teachers and the management of that particular park are found to be having been negligent at that point in time when the incident happened, and then they ought to face the law. Now, this particular morning, we'll be talking about matters war on graft. The big question remains: are we winning the war on graft? Where are we in regards to fighting graft here in the country? What has the Kenya Kwanza government done so far? Remember, one of President William Ruto's promise during the campaign period was to bring the issue of corruption to an end. Now, question is, how far is he and how far are we as a country in fighting matters of corruption? What is the role played by the judiciary? Is there a lapse? Is it a case of too many laws, too little justice? We'll be looking into that this particular morning, as well as the visit by King Charles III. Now, on that note, we just take a short breath and then we'll be back with the newspaper highlights this morning. Well, many thanks for staying with us. Remember, you can watch this particular show live on our Facebook and YouTube pages at Lookuptv, as well as engage with us across our social media platforms at Lookuptv on Instagram, Facebook, as well as X. Now, it is time for time to go through the headlines or the stories making headlines on the local dailies this morning, and at beg we start with the Daily Nation. And of course, the big story is they say Kenya's top counties. Of course, more than 70% of respondents say devolution has made their lives better. This is a survey done by Infotrack, I believe, yes, Infotrack, in regards to the performance of various counties in different sectors. Let's say devolved units from the Rift Valley region dominate the top 10 places in the latest county performance index by Infotrack, with neighbors Uasin Gishu and Elgeyo Marakwet counties taking joint lead. But counties from other parts of the country also show their mettle in sector listings. That is a story on page 9, 10, and 11. And I must say, I'm proud to associate myself with Elgeyo Marakwet County. In terms of education, West Pokot, Elgeyo Marakwet, and Murang'a County are the top 3 counties. In terms of agriculture, Uasin Gishu County, Elgeyo Marakwet County, and Trans Nzoia are the top counties. In terms of roads, Nyeri, Elgeyo Marakwet County once again, and West Pokot are the top 3 counties in terms of that research. And of course, in terms of culture and sports, yet again is Elgeyo Marakwet, Homa Bay County, and West Pokot County. I mean, Elgeyo Marakwet is among the top 2 in each of all those sectors, and of course that is education, agriculture, and roads, and leading in matters of culture and sports. A big, of course, kudos and congratulations to the governor, that is Wesley Rotich, on the work that is continuing to do in that particular county. Now, in terms of the performance of all these counties, generally, Uasin Gishu County and Elgeyo Marakwet are the joint leaders, like you heard earlier on, followed by Trans Nzoia, Kericho, Nandi, Bomet, West Pokot, Nyeri, and of course Kirinyaga, Embu, Tharaka Nithi, and Baringo counties. Of course, this, like I said, is a story that you can find on page 9, 10, 11, and 9, 10, and 11. Beg your pardon. And of course, in terms of regions, Kwale, Lamu, and Taita Taveta are the top 3 counties in the coast region. In the northeastern region, Mandera, Garissa, and Wajir in that particular order. Eastern region, Embu, Tharaka Nithi, and Makueni in that order. In central Kenya, Nyeri, Kirinyaga, and Murang'a are the top 3. Rift Valley, like I said earlier on, Uasin Gishu and Elgeyo Marakwet are joint top. Trans Nzoia is the 3rd. In Nyanza region, Homa Bay, Kisii, and Kisumu in that particular order. Western region, that is Kakamega leading Vihiga. Kakamega and Vihiga, of course, are joint top, and Bungoma takes the 3rd position. Of course, this is research done on the performance of these counties across all sectors, all the key sectors in the country. Remember, education, agriculture are top among the key sectors that contribute so much in the growth of the country. Now, one other story on the headlines is that, remember, on Monday and even from last week, there was the issue of schools and school principals having seeing the need to increase school fees amid the skyrocketing the surging economy, the high cost of living that continues to cause ripple effects across the country, and principals that suggested to increase school fees by up to 25,000 Kenya shillings per term. No, per year, beg your pardon. Now, President William Ruto has ruled that out, and they say Ruto rules out fees increase as KCPE and KPSE exams start. Now, President William Ruto was, yesterday engaged in the issuing of exams, day one, exams in, various schools across the country. And he was in Kikuyu Township yesterday, I believe at, AIC Togoto Primary, where he oversaw the, kick-starting or the beginning of those particular examinations, if you'd love. Various leaders as well, oversaw those exams in various parts of the country, with Musalia Mudavadi being at St. George's Primary here in the capital, Nairobi. And of course, that comes, RUTO's sentiments comes as, reprieve to parents across the country who had, had some sort of concerns, had raised concerns in regards to the increase of, school fees across various schools in the country. And remember, there's a school here in the capital, Nairobi, in the Eastlands area that had closed down, citing the harsh economic times. Beg your pardon. Now, they say that President William Ruto says no one will increase school fees under his administration or under his watch. Now, one other story that I want us to look at, there are two stories, but no, I just want us to look at one more on the Daily Nation before we cross over to the Standard. And they say azimio protests police raid on Governor Simbarati's office. That is a story on page 6 of the Daily Nation. And they say police, of course, GSU in Arati office raid went to relax. Of course, yesterday morning, Governor Simbarati was made his way to his office only to find police officers or GSU officers barricading the office, which is at the Gusii Stadium. Later on, of course, Azimio did issue a statement, but the police chief did say that the officers were from, patrolling the area, and they were just relaxing, quote unquote, relaxing in that area. I mean, Governor Simbarati did dismiss that particular notion, saying that, questioning why they didn't have any other place to relax. Now, finally, this a key story on the back page of the Daily Nation. They say Ruto unveils first phone assembly plant. Remember, President William Ruto had promised that indeed his government will see to it that Kenya can be able to manufacture, mobile phones, and they say leading telcos, that is Safaricom, Jamii Telecom, Tele1, and ITTCL behind the groundbreaking venture. And of course, the phones, which include the 4G-enabled Neon 5 smarter phones, which were displayed yesterday and were launched, will cost you around 7,499 shillings. Now, crossing over to the Standard this morning, and they say, out goes KCPE, in comes new exams. They say, whereas learners have been used to cut throat competition, the new testing format aims to create a less burdensome and more student-friendly way of assessing candidates, relieving the pressure of chasing top scores. Now, that story, and you can see on the front page, that is President William Ruto, engaging a candidate during the beginning of the exams yesterday. And of course, some of the changes include, of course, KPSEA, which is designed for grade 6 students under the new CBC framework, is now in its second year. Moving from primary to junior school will be automatic regardless of the score the candidates will get in the KPSEA examinations. Now, the third one is that the approach aims to support the development and growth of young learners without the pressure of achieving top scores. And finally, unlike KCPE, which accounts for the final score a candidate achieves, under KPSEA, the score will, of course, be a combination of class-based assessment and the final score. Now that, of course, is in regards to the new system that comes into place as we bid farewell, I'd say, to the 844 system. Now, another story on the front page of the Daily Nation, the Standard, beg your pardon, is this: the visit by King Charles III, and they say British monarch survives where many have failed. That is on page 6 and 7 of the Standard this morning. And of course, it is not the first time that King Charles is in the country. He was here in the country a long time ago. In fact, there's a photo making rounds on social media of King Charles shaking hands with the Kenya's founding father, that is Mzee Jomo Kenyatta, the late Mzee Jomo Kenyatta. And of course, the visit is significant. It's only 8 years after the visit by sitting United States President, that is Hussein Barack Obama, who visited the country back in 2015. And of course, like I said, the royal family will be in the country for 4 days. One of the things that the the UK embassy in the country did, of course, to commemorate this particular visit is the painting of matatus, or the embassy's matatus, with the graffiti, which of course is we don't to say in line with the Kenya's matatu culture. Remember, Kenya's matatu culture, the graffitis and all that, is one of the most popular features of in the transport sector, not only here in the country but as well across the continent and the globe. On page 3 of the Standard this morning, the vetting of various nominees to various ambassadorial roles across the globe continues. And of course, the MPs insist that diplomacy requires experience in dealing with foreign governments and international relations. The vetting will continue today. And of course, that will see whether those who have been nominated will proceed as nominated by the president or not. Among those who are nominated, and one of the highlights of the things that we'll be looking at this morning is the nomination of Terry Ramadhani as the deputy ambassador to India. Of course, she was implicated she was named. She was among those who were suspended in the KEMSA scandal, the KEMSA mosquito net scandal, that is to be specific. Now on the back page of the Standard, still the story where Manchester United lost 3-0 to Manchester City. And of course, Shabana FC did lose 4-0 against Ulinzi, forcing the manager, that is Mr. Sami Okoth, to resign. Now, as per yesterday, the management of Shabana was saying, listen, we've spoken to Mr. Okoth and he will be resuming his duties as the head coach of the Kisii-based team. Remember, tomorrow they'll be playing with champions Gor Mahia at the Kasarani Stadium here in the capital, Nairobi. Question is, will their misery be compounded by Kogalo? Now, just a few seconds before we jump into the news highlights this morning, Lionel Messi won his 8th Ballon d'Or this morning. I'm saying this morning because the awards, were given at around 12 a.m. between 12 a.m. and 1 a.m. this morning. That now means the debate has been over for some time. There's been the debate surrounding who's the greatest of all time between Cristiano Ronaldo, who plays with the part-time politicians in Saudi Arabia, and of course Lionel Messi. And Messi has cemented that position as the greatest of all time, having won the World Cup on 18th of December last year, and now winning his 8th Ballon d'Or. Remember, his closest rival is Cristiano Ronaldo, who has 5 Ballon d'Or awards. Now, because of time, I wouldn't want to talk much as I wanted to in regards to that particular matter, being a Lionel Messi fan. But on that note, we wrap up the news paper highlights this particular morning. We take a short break and then we'll be back with the news highlights. Well, many thanks for staying with us. Let's get going. And of course, President William RUTO, Education CS Ezekiel Machogu, Chief Executive Officer of the TSC, that is Nancy Macharia, as officials in the Ministry of Education and other leaders on Monday officially launched the start of the KPSEA and KCC examinations activity across the country. Now, the President, while at Kikuyu Township Primary School, called on the candidates to be careful while undertaking the examination, wishing all the candidates success in the exams. Stanley Lugaria files the following story.
President William RUTO, Cabinet Secretary Education Ezekiel Machogu, and other leaders on early Monday officially inaugurate the start of the national examination, wishing more than 3,500,000 candidates good luck as he asked them to showcase their best in the examination.
Nataka niwaambie watoto wetu wote wa Kenya, wale candidates siku ya leo, wajue ya kwamba sote tunaambatana na wao katika mtihani huu, na tumefanya mpango ya kutosha mumalize mtihani wenu, na tumewapangia pia vile mtaenda mbele na masomo yenu, wale wanaenda grade 7, wale wanaenda form 1. Na ni kwa sababu tunataka kuhakikisha kwamba hakuna mtoto hata mmoja wa Kenya anabaki nyuma. Sote tutaambatana pamoja.
The president explained that the government is in the process to ensure more than 1,400,000 KCP and 1,200,000 KPSEA candidates join relevant levels to continue their education, appealing with more than 900 high school candidates sitting for their KCSE examination to put their best foot in the examination.
Kila mmoja wenu mjue ya kwamba wakati mnafanya mtihani ambayo mnaenda kufanya leo asubuhi, mjue ya kwamba hii mtihani ni ya kuwasaidia muweze kusonga mbele katika masomo yenu. Wengine wenu mtaenda grade 7, wengine wenu sasa mtaenda form 1, na katika hiyo safari yote wazazi wenu, viongozi wenu, serikali ya Kenya itaambatana pamoja na nyinyi tukiwa na Mwenyezi Mungu. You are the wealth of our nation. You are the future of our country. And I want to tell you that we will do everything that is possible. If there is one thing that we have done is to place education as a priority. And that is why we are spending the largest budget of Kenya on our children, because you are the biggest asset that we have.
After praying for the students, RUTO proceeded to the opening of the examination and presided over the distribution of exam papers to the candidates at Kikuyu Township School before leaving to give the students an opportunity to continue with the exam.
The future of our young boys and girls is extremely important to all of us, and therefore me coming here and the president being elsewhere and other leaders, we are actually partnering with the Department of Education to show that we all want the integrity of our exams to be upheld and to be beyond reproach.
Education CS Ezekiel Mochogo took the opportunity to wish all the candidates success in the examination, maintaining that strong arrangements had been put in place to ensure all candidates in grade 6 under CBC join grade 7.
Part of the country, Your Excellency, the exams have gone to all the schools, and Your Excellency also to assure Kenyans that your government is not increasing their fees when they go to Form 1, and all of them who are here are going to be placed in Form 1. We have enough places. There is no school fees increment. It is 53,000 for national schools and extra county schools, and 45,000 for county schools, and it is going to remain as such.
Maintaining that respective stakeholders had deployed heavy security in a bid to ensure the process is a successful one, warning those ill-minded individuals who have perverted and deceptive intent against the examination to desist.
As a ministry, we thank your government because we have a multi-agency team which is monitoring this exam countrywide, and we assure you, Your Excellency, that all is moving on well.
Reporting for Lookup, I'm Jengi Timothy.
Now, 2 officers died on Monday while 4 others sustained serious injuries after running into, remote-controlled IED at Age Dam along Dadaab-Garissa Road while they were headed on supervision duty of the national exams that kicked off yesterday. Now, the officers were in one vehicle when they ran over the IED, suspected of having been planted by Al-Shabaab militants. Ruga Ival gives us more.
We have deployed enough police officers within our county. You know, this is a special county because of the challenges of Al-Shabaab and roads which are impassable. We are happy that the government has deployed 2 helicopters on standby, especially to cover the sub-counties along the border.
Just a few hours after the county commissioner, Garissa County, confirmed beefing up security in the area in preparedness of national examinations countrywide, 2 GSU officers lost their lives through a terror attack in Dadaab. The Sunni Islamist military allegedly had planted remote-controlled IEDs which hit the vehicle the officers were traveling in to Garissa County for supervision of the ongoing national examinations. The 2 lost their lives after the vehicle hit a remote-controlled bomb at Ege Dam along Dadaab-Garissa Road. 4 other passengers were left with serious injuries and are still under treatment in Dadaab Hospital. However, security bodies through county commissioners have continued giving an assurance to candidates and exam partakers that their areas are safe. West Pokot Sub-County Commissioner Wycliffe Munanda has assured candidates and residents that enough security officers have been deployed in examination centers to provide security during the 3-day national examination period.
Salama ipo katika kaunti yote. Hatutarajii usalama, utofu wa usalama kuzuia mitihani kuendelea katika kaunti ya West Pokot. Kwa hivyo mikakati yote iko vizuri, tumeweka kwa njia nzuri. Uchukuzi pia upande ambao kuna changamoto, magari imewekwa sawa, usalama pia imewekwa, kuambatana na usalama pia imewekwa sawa ili shughuli hii ya mitihani iendelee vizuri.
At least several schools have been put on intense security watch at insecurity hotspots in the country. Schools in Sondo area, Kisumu County, Garissa, West Pokot, Coast Region like Lamu and Mombasa are on the security radar.
We are peaceful in Lamu. Exams will be going on as expected. We pray God for that. And in the last 2 or 3 weeks, we've not had such a thing. The area has been conducive, the area has been peaceful, and we are not expecting any insecurity issue now that we've not been having it in the recent past.
Mtu yeyote yule ambaye atafanya uhalifu wowote wakati huu wa huu mtihani ambao umeanza, tutaweza kuchukulia hatua kali. Tuko na maafisa wetu wa polisi ambao wamejiandaa.
Ruga Eval, Lookuptv.
On education matters, and Uasin Gishu Governor B. Chelilem yesterday visited the bereaved families of the Arap Moi students who died a day to national examinations. The governor sent his condolences and assured the parents of the deceased that the county government will support the KCP and grade 6 candidates as they undertake their examinations.
The still waters of the Nai area that took lives of 5 candidates in Ainabkoi sub-county remains a story residents of Uasin Gishu will live to tell. Tension atmosphere continues to build up as parents from Arap Moi Primary School are still in disbelief about the incident that happened on Saturday evening, where at least 5 candidates drowned after the boat sank in a river at Ndanai area.
Mtu kwa shule alikuwa bright boy. Tukua in fact tumemtafutia Starry Boys. Na alikuwa ametupromise 370 and above. He was a good boy.
Uasin Gishu Governor B. Chelilem is sending his condolences to the deceased families, promising to support them financially during the burial preparations. Besides that, he urged the remaining candidates to focus on their ongoing examinations despite the tragedy that befell them.
Kusanyika hapa kwa kutoa rambirambi zetu sisi tukiwa county government ya Uasin Gishu, kujiunga na jamii, wazazi wa wale watoto waliangamizwa kule kwa maji, watoto wa Arap Moi Primary School, na pia walikuwa ni watainiwa vijana wetu 5. Tumekuja hapa kwa huzuni kubwa sana kusema kwamba poleni sana jamii, poleni sana shule ya primary ya Arap Moi, poleni viongozi wa shule, pole sana wazazi, kwa sababu mmekuwa mmeandaa watoto wenu miaka hizo zote mkijua kwamba kwa safari yao ya elimu ilikuwa bado siku moja ndio wafanye mtihani ndio waende kwa kiwango kingine. Nataka kusema pole sana. Kama serikali ya Uasin Gishu tunataka kusema sisi tutasimama na nyinyi, tutaombea nyinyi, na mipango yote ya kuweka hawa watoto wapumzike mahali wanapumzika, tunataka kusema tutahusika pamoja.
It is said that the students left the school for refreshments unsupervised after they were done with their praying session, not knowing it will be their last moment. Ivy Wangulu, Lookuptv.
I mean, indeed, it's the hope of the parents that those students can get justice. That there was the governor of Uasin Gishu County, Mr. Honorable Jonathan B. Chelilem alias Koti Moja. Now, remember, earlier on I alluded to the King of England, King Charles III, and Queen Camilla being in the country. They jetted in yesterday at around 10 p.m., 10:34 p.m. to be precise. Of course, they'll be in the country for the next 4 days. We are going on a short breather this particular moment in time, but we'll be back to discuss what the visit means for Kenya. Well, of course, King Charles addressed the issue of compensation. Of course, how significant is the visit by King Charles and the Queen to in regards or in terms of boosting the relations between Kenya and the United Kingdom. So that is a conversation that we'll be having with you this particular morning. Of course, later on, still talk on on issues, the war on graft in the country. Are we winning the war against graft, or where do we stand? Is it a case of too many laws and too little justice, or what is the situation? Now, don't go away, because we'll be coming back after this break with that particular conversation.
Want to expand your business today or attend to an emergency? Gisort na Logbook Loan, a business loan solution that allows you to leverage your logbook as security, making the application process both efficient and easy. You can borrow up to a maximum of 1 million shillings, processed within 24 hours with a repayment period of 24 months. All you need is your original logbook, original ID and KRA PIN, 6 months bank statement or M-Pesa statement, and comprehensive insurance. For more details, visit any of our branches near you today or call us on 0709 692 000 or send an SMS to 20103 at no charge. Juhudi Kilimo, investing in farmers, transforming lives.
Looking for an office space? 4th Avenue Towers is a professionally designed 25-story executive office that is conveniently located at the heart of the Medical and Legal Services Square within community area. The office is easily accessible from both Valley Road and Ngong Road. Professionals and business people now have the opportunity to own a premium piece of office space, the optimum choice for the modern professional. Key utilities include 24-hour security with CCTV surveillance, high-speed internet access, ample and secure parking, high-speed elevators, power backup generator, open rooftop, and a restaurant. 4th Avenue, an amazing product of Fusion Capital. Fusion Capital, rooted in the African growth story.
Infinity Industrial Park is one of the largest private industrial parks located along Eastern Bypass, Nairobi, which provides modern infrastructure for smooth operations for industries and business enterprises. Infinity Industrial Park offers world-class amenities and facilities with wide roads, a police station, a power substation, fire station, public transport stage, hospital, and shopping mall. In addition, Infinity Industrial Park also offers CCTV cameras, 24-hour private armed security patrol, sewer, water, fiber optic cable, and 3-phase power connection, added to public utility, canteen, and dining areas. Sail on the golden opportunity to invest in Infinity Industrial Park fully serviced warehouses at a special price of 3,569 Kenyan shillings per square foot. For more inquiries, visit our website infinityindustrialpark.com.
On the 2nd and 3rd of November 2023, join thousands of leaders from across the country and beyond. This premier leadership event, the Global Leadership Summit, will be hosted at Sitam Karen. World-class speakers at the summit this year include Pastor Craig Groeschel, the GLS champion, Condoleezza Rice, former Secretary of State of the United States of America, Pat Gelsinger, the CEO of Intel Corporation, Chris Methabula, South Africa, among others. Local speakers include Dr. David Oginde, the Chairperson of Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission, Dennis Njao, the Director of Payments and Retail Banking at Equity Bank Limited, Julius Kipngetich, the Group CEO, Jubilee Insurance, Margaret Sirma of the College of Health Science at Nairobi Hospital, George Njuguna, Director of Information and Technology at Safaricom PLC, Bishop Kalisto Odede, the presiding Bishop of Christ is the Answer Ministries. Summit fee is Kenya shillings 2,900. Register now through Paybill 825-500, account number GLS 2023. For more information, call 0722-490-325. Register now. The Global Leadership Summit. Lead where you are.
Well, very good morning to you in case you're joining us just in time for the conversation here on the Morning Drift on this 31st day of October 2023. Now, day when King Charles III and Queen Camilla just jetted into the country. It's safe to say they jetted in yesterday because they landed in the country at around 10:34 p.m. Now, they were received by, among other leaders, that is the Prime Cabinet Secretary, who is also the Cabinet Secretary for Foreign Affairs, that is Honorable Musalia Mudavadi, alongside the UK Ambassador to Kenya, that is Mr. Neil Wigan. His visit to the country comes at a time when, of course, various groups from various quarters across the country are calling for compensation for those atrocities that were committed during the colonial period. From Nyeri County to Nandi County to Mombasa to Kisii counties, we'll be looking forward to, of course, whether King Charles III will be addressing those issues. And of course, like I said earlier on, his visit is the first to a Commonwealth country or Commonwealth nation since assuming his role as the King of England. Remember, he assumed to that role, or rather he rose to that particular role after the death of Queen Elizabeth that occurred on the 8th of September 2022. Remember, Queen Elizabeth did receive the news of her becoming queen when she was still princess, together with her husband here in the country, to be specific, in Nyeri County. But of course, that showcases the the importance of this particular country to the British monarch, and Kenya and the United Kingdom do enjoy warm relations, like I alluded to earlier on, and we'll be looking at the itinerary, and of course, which will be provided by State House here in State House Nairobi by the President. But of course, top of the things that we do know up to now is that they will be having sort of press conference at State House Nairobi, where President William Ruto and King Charles III will address members of the state. Later on, of course, he is expected to tour various parts of the county. I'm saying the county because we are talking about Nairobi County, which is the capital city. Remember, yesterday the governor, Arthur Johnson Sakaja, did address before the state, and they said they were prepared for the visit of King Charles, and of course he will be part of those engagements with the king here in the capital as well. We do know that Queen Camilla will be engaging in various projects with the First Lady, that is Rachel Ruto, and of course that is according to press release that was issued yesterday by State House Nairobi. And of course it says that Her Majesty Queen Camilla is expected to meet the First Lady, that is Mama Rachel Ruto, State House Nairobi, today, where she will be taken through the First Lady's activities, which includes women economic empowerment programs. That is just some of the things that will be happening today. Remember, the king, like I said, will be spending his first day here in the capital, Nairobi, before, of course, engaging in various activities and various groups across the country, specifically in Nyeri counties and Mombasa County. Of course, his visit, as well, comes at a time when the president has been on the spot in regards to his numerous trips abroad. But this particular visit by the king, of course, showcases, of course, at least one of the importance of the president's trips outside the country. Remember, he has gone to the United Kingdom twice ever since he was sworn in as the president of the Republic of Kenya. And of course, one of those occasions was during the inauguration of King Charles as the King of England. Of course, President William Ruto has defended his numerous trips abroad, saying it is of importance to the country. I believe this visit by King Charles is one of those importance that he was talking about. Now, joining me this morning is Mr. William Kamau. Thank you very much for joining us this morning. You've been great.
Yeah, I've been great since last week. Yeah,
I'm happy to see you around. Well, let's begin this conversation with King Charles' arrival here in the country. I mean, what is the significance of this particular trip by the king to the country?
All right. First, I feel that the state of the economy in UK is not so good currently. So I feel UK is trying to strengthen their economic ties.
Just as before you let us or talk to us or engage with us in regards to the issues of the importance of this particular trip economically. I mean, we do know that Kenya and the United Kingdom do enjoy warm relations, and Kenya being one of the Commonwealth countries, and it is a privilege, I should say, that we as a country are hosting the king for the first time in his maiden trip to a Commonwealth nation, and how significant that is. You can continue.
It can only mean that Kenya is very key in their planning and in their planning. It means that Kenya is not to be taken lightly. Kenya must be a favorite country to them. So it is a warm welcome to the king and the queen. We can only hope that it means more economic translation, or rather transformation for our country and their country, because Kenya has been very vocal in terms of exportations to the UK. We actually export a lot to the UK. And if you look at the inflation in UK, how the economy is behaving in UK, you can tell it is time to start looking at those relationships when the entire world is torn between the next way forward with the introduction of BRICS currency, that is meant to shake the world currencies, which is the dollar and the UK pound. And so I want to believe those are some of the things that the UK and Kenya are going to talk about, so that they don't lose us.
Yes.
The whole world is at a crossroad as we speak on the next way forward for economics.
And just talking about whatever we export as a country to this particular nation, that is the United Kingdom. I mean, like you said, a variety of things: coffee, tea, all those spices, including copper. We do export vegetables. I mean, there are a lot of things that Kenya do export to the United Kingdom, which you want to say are key things, which of course places Kenya as one of the top countries in terms of relations with the United Kingdom. And I mean, that significant that what we export signifies of course the importance of Kenya as an ally of the United Kingdom, because as well there are plating materials, basket wood, cotton, all this are key things that we export to, of course, the United Kingdom. And at some point in time as well, we had the Kenyan government sending over nurses to the United Kingdom, and it just showcases the sort of relations that we have. And I mean, the visit by the king would be important in trying to ensure that not only do we benefit in terms of economically in terms of exporting all this, but as well human labor. The president has been vocal in regards to Kenya exporting human labor to other countries, Saudi Arabia, the Canada, the United States, Germany, and of course Kenya. The president will be seeking to, of course, partner or sign deals with the United Kingdom in regards to exporting more human labor to the UK. You are leading to something before I interrupted you.
Yeah. If you look at Kenya and UK, we are in a common crisis in terms of inflation. Inflation is working against both countries. That means the value for money is losing daily. If you look at our foreign earners in this country, you can tell that we are not doing so well. That's why you see the pound is damn expensive as we speak. The dollar is gaining every day as the Kenyan shilling loses. And so, as I was saying earlier on, as the country and the nations of the world are at a crossroad right now because of the economic policies that are happening around with the introduction of a new currency like BRICS, where countries across board seems now to be taking sides, it is time for countries like UK and Kenya to strengthen those ties, okay, to be able to strengthen what has always been there for us and for them before they lose us. Because I want to believe
Just before you continue, I want us to take a short break, and then we'll come back and talk about the issue of the depreciating value of the Kenyan shilling against not only the sterling pound but as well the US dollar, and what it means with the visit of King Charles into the country. We're taking a short breather, but we'll be back, of course, engage more in regards to the visit by King Charles to the country.
As the night falls, we come to life to bring you a comprehensive broadcast from the numerous events happening across our 47 counties.
When it breaks, it matters, and each story is important.
If it's Thursday, join me, Nancy Lima, and my able panelists as we break down the law jargons and analyze the Constitution in a way only you can understand.
The news cycle never stops, neither does time. We cover each and every sector and present to you factual and accurate occurrences. This is where facts win the day. Join me,
Nancy Lima,
Ian Keitany, Tuesday, every Wednesday,
Thursday,
as from 9 p.m. on The Insight, only on Lookuptv.
The story we're telling today is a story of passion in practice that grows into business.
We have partnered with the Youth Fund, talk to as many youth as possible and work with them, hold their hand.
It is an expose of captains who have decided to take on challenges in different sectors and industries within the country.
My mentors had also not started as CEOs. They grew up and they showed me how they grew in the organizations. So that's what motivated me to actually do international business. And it was a good experience.
As an individual, support in bridging the care gap, part of me also to offer a solution. I want to leave this world a better place than I found it.
This is the Captain's Arena. My name is Simba Elijah Charles Kiage.
Hi, and welcome to Tujenge Home. Your #1 show when it comes to all things architecture, real estate, property development, interior design. You get it right here on Tujenge Home.
When the food is ready,
You want to serve them?
Dinner is served.
Yeah. Let's go.
Beautiful, wonderful, glorious. We are having the show that we share entitled Shepherd Voice.
I'm waiting for you to get me to Kenya. That's what I'm waiting
for you.
God is the source of every blessings that flow into your life.
And I know that God is going to bless you and to do a new thing.
Pray.
Praise the Lord and Bwana Yesu asifiwe sana. My name is Pastor Josiah. I'm from a ministry called Reconcilers World. God gives strength to the weary. I am, Jesus is speaking. He says, I am the door. Then he says, anyone who enters in through me will be saved. The Lord is my shepherd or shepherd. Then he says, I will always have everything I need. God desires to guide you. He's telling you that this day, don't just trust the Lord, but he's telling you, trust the Lord widely.
Are you an SME looking for a media partner? Look no more, as Lookuptv got you covered for all your visibility and marketing needs. We at Lookuptv understand your business needs and want to work with you on your marketing journey, giving you solutions that will take you to the next level. Call us today on 0707 572 358 or send an email to sales@lookuptv.co.ke and kickstart this amazing journey. Welcome to Lookuptv, your official SME media partner.
Well, thank you very much for staying with us. This is, the Morning Drift. We're having a conversation surrounding the visit by King Charles III and Queen Camilla to Kenya, it being, their first visit to a Commonwealth country since, taking over the reins of power, in the monarch after the death of Queen Elizabeth on the 8th of September 2022. Now, Kamau, you're talking to us about, the importance of, the export and its impact on the Kenyan shilling against the sterling pound.
Yeah, one of the stabilizers of an economy is a foreign earner. What are we exporting? If you look at our percentages of what we export as a country, how have they been behaving for the last, say, 5 years? Our exports have been on a nosedive for the last five years or so. We fell from 17% to maybe we're dealing with about 7% right now. So that tells you we have really lost the foreign currency, and that tells you why the dollar is gaining every day. The Kenyan shilling is becoming weaker. If you look at the pound today, it's almost at 183. So that tells you we do not have so much we are exporting. That tells you there is some dead business that is happening. And so the king and the queen coming today, looking at the economic status of UK and Kenya, there's some economic activities that must have been lost along the line, and so there must be some discussion round the table of reviving what we used to export to them, because Kenya is very key. in UK is planning because of our geographic positioning in East Africa. If Kenya can get it right, we have like 4 or 5 countries that can benefit with Kenya positioning itself in a better place to trade more with UK. As I said earlier, if you look at the nations of the world today, there is an economic crisis, there is a recession that is taking place. That tells you businesses are shutting and closing down each and every passing day. There is the threat of a BRIC currency that is being introduced by a few countries. That is something to think about if you really want to trade with Kenya or any other country, because as we speak now, so many countries are beginning to take sides. So if UK can lose us as their key people in the East African market and the Kenyan market, then they will lose. Because if you look at the inflation today in UK and the cost of commodities is even worse than Kenya. So they are looking at, strengthening these economic ties between the Commonwealth countries, and losing Kenya or being silent when we need to hear UK speaking concerning these things can cost us and can cost them. So I think they are coming in at the right place. It's all about interest. Their interest must have been shaken. The UK, the pound must have been shaken. And I want to believe it is going to revolve around money. The talks are going to revolve about money and maybe security. Yeah.
Now, talking about matters the Kenyan economy, some experts do say that Kenya's economic struggles has been, brought about by, the overexposure on Chinese lending. Do you see that? And this comes in the backdrop of President Ruto's recent visit to China. Do you feel like this is an opportunity for President William Ruto to maybe try and sort out the issue of the economic mess in the country?
I think he needs to borrow a leaf from his predecessor, Uhuru Kenyatta Muigai, who said he does not have a preference as far as trading is concerned, whether to go east or west. Whoever gives us a good deal, whoever is looking at working with us, trading with us, that is the person we welcome. And I also think that the president, if I'm not wrong, he said something like that not a long time ago. So him going to the east or going to the west or going to the UK has nothing to do really with our money losing value. We are looking at who can help us grow the economy. Where can we access cheaper loans? Who can we export our products to? Where can we import? Because again, Kenya is a net importing nation. More of what we consume is imported. Where can we import quality and cheaper products from? So if we're able to look at all these things and harness that economic energy irrespective of who is giving us whatever deal, then we're able to move forward as a country. The truth of the matter is that there is a global crisis that requires a lot of planning as a nation. You need to know what you're offering as a nation. I would like to know what are some of the things that will be discussed between our nation and UK. What negotiations will take around, what will we ask for, because this is a big brother, this is a country that has colonized us before, they owe us so much. We need to have some bargaining power over everything that they will say because of our history with them. We can also look at some compensation of what happened before independence. So much was stolen from Kenya. Those are some kind of compensation would do to try and jumpstart our economy, because this is a conversation. We cannot forget about history. We cannot forget what we lost. And so we would like to know what will be discussed around the table by our president, because now these are the things that can help us, start planning for our economy. Because the truth of the matter, not only Kenya is struggling, even UK itself is struggling. So looking at these things holistically, it is time to plan and replan again. And so it is like a new chance we are getting to replan and negotiate with the UK.
The issue of compensation, various quarters are demanding compensation from from the monarch, especially those in Nyeri, the Mau Mau, and even those in Mombasa and Kisii counties, even in Nandi County. Do you think the king will address that?
He needs to address. He needs to address. That is a question that is ringing in everybody's mind as we speak. What is he going to speak? What is he going to say about the injustices that happened in this country? Not only injustices, but so much loot happened when they were colonizing us. They stole so much from us. We would like to know what is their stand, because where the nation is right now, some compensation will do us good. So I think it is quite important for the king to address that as far as moving forward with our relationship is concerned.
Now, apart from the issue of compensation, there are very many other issues surrounding the Kenya and the Kenya-UK ties, and for some time the country has been sort of, and even Kenyans have been, Kenyans weighing in on particular issues. You've touched on the issue of exports to the United Kingdom. There's the issue of human labor, and for some time we've been, and even last year I believe Kenya did send nurses to the United Kingdom, and even including these years they were flagged off by Health CS Susan Akumisha. What is the importance of Kenya sending nurses to the United Kingdom? I mean, we've also seen nurses from other countries, including Cuba, coming into the country, but Kenya did say they will not, sign that deal again. But the deal between Kenya and the UK in terms of sending nurses to that country was signed again. What is the significance of sending medical practitioners to the UK?
First, if you look at one of our biggest foreign earners is Kenyans living abroad, sending money, dollars, pounds back in the country. If we're able to send nurses and doctors to the UK, we increase our percentage of our foreign earner, because these people are more likely to invest more back at home, hence giving the Kenyan shilling some relief. And so it is quite important that we negotiate about sending our nurses to the UK for the purposes of giving our shilling some relief, because again, the Kenyans working abroad is one of our biggest earners. And the good thing about such nations like UK is because of the working policies. People don't just work there. People don't negotiate for pay. There is a pay that is determined by the policies. These people are paid per hour. There is no being taken advantage of when we have such professionals working in UK. That means if a nurse is earning, let's say, £10 per hour, that is good amount, as opposed to sending laborers into other countries where you go and negotiate how much you're going to be paid by yourself. There is no negotiation of pay in such places where working policies are really implemented well and that they don't joke around with. And so looking at that, again, being Kenyans working abroad, being one of the biggest foreign earners in this country, it is quite important we send nurses there. Because the Kenyan shilling continues to be weak because we do not have foreign money that is coming in. Ian, a country can only grow so much internally, but growth begins to happen, or we grow exponentially, when we are talking of an increased foreign earner in this country. If we have more streams bringing in the dollar, then that means we are producing more. That means we are manufacturing more. But if our currency continues to weaken, then that tells you even the processing, the manufacturing of a nation, the production of a country is on a nosedive. So it is quite important we send as many people as we can out there, because the production of this country, manufacturing of this country is not doing so well, has not been doing so well for the last 5-10 years.
No. Some say, pardon, some say the visit by the king is a bold move amid the challenges that have been there in regards to the Kenya-UK relations, in as much as we enjoy good, cordial working relations. there's the issue of, you know, colonial atrocities committed, and you've talked about it in terms of, you know, compensation. But some of the things, for example, there's a group from Kisii County who are demanding around 10 trillion Kenya shillings in terms of you know, compensation. And there have been various cases in court. And for example, even among the Nandi community, there's the issue of, you know, Keitany, Arab Samoa. So is the visit by King Charles, you know, is it some sort of, you know, strong belief that there can be a way out, because the court has, you know, pronounced itself on the issue. Not only, even there was a you know, a pronouncement by the ICC in regards to the atrocities that were committed. Does the visit signify a strong belief by the king that those challenges can be resolved? Because to some point, to some extent, some quarters do feel like probably these particular issues, if at all they remain, you know, unsolved and attended to, can sort of hinder the relations between Kenya and the UK.
We must ask ourselves as Kenyans, what is it in for us with the king's visit? Because the king is here to push his agenda. He's here thinking and putting his nation first. And so when he comes into our country, we must ask ourselves, what is it in for us as a country with his visit? This is off record, but allow me to say this. I wish the Deputy President, Mr. Rigathi Gachagua, who refers to himself the son of Mau Mau, would be in the country to tell the story of Mau Mau and what happened to us, to the king, which of course he knows, so that we can look at what is it in for us as Mau Mau people. Mau Mau is a Kikuyu name for freedom fighters, which cuts across. The Nandi people must have their name for the freedom fighters, you know, the guys from Kisii. So Mau Mau is a name that cuts across the nation for Mau Mau, for the freedom fighters. And so it is important for us to ask ourselves, what is it in for us as far as compensation of the atrocities that happened to us is concerned? Can some of the loot that were taken from us be given back? They took some of our best trees from Mount Kenya. They went to UK many years ago. They have stolen. These are things we need to talk. They stole so much from us. There was a lot of killing. So much happened to us. So what is it in for us as far as compensation is concerned? We must ask ourselves that question. And I would like to hear how the president is going to go about it. Because this is the question by the in everybody's mind. Has the king come with our compensation? Because there is no hope for the Mau Mau fighters and the freedom fighters to ever be compensated by the Kenyan government. That is not going to happen. So the only person who can compensate them is the person who acted those atrocities against our people. And so we would want to hear what the president will say about that. Or as a nation, how is that issue going to be addressed? Because it must have some significance. His visit must have a big significance of what happened in our past. Remember, these are our colonizers. This is not just any other person coming in the country. This is our colonizer, prime colonizer. He's coming into our country. What are you bringing for us?
I mean that comes in the backdrop of we've seen France in recent times even returning some of the things that were stolen from the countries that they colonized in parts of West Africa. And that would be sort of, motivation for we as a country to demand more from the United Kingdom.
That should be the bare minimum. That should be the bare minimum. In fact, the question should be, should we attach the current value of what they stole from us? Because of course it has gained over with time. So if they stole like 10 billion worth of our wealth, it should have maybe tripled by now. Do we calculate the compensation with the current value, or do we just say give us back what you stole from us? This is the kind of, we cannot forget what they did to us, but this is a very welcome move. I think it is in good faith that the king has seen it fit to come into this country, but we must ask ourselves again, what is it in us? What is it in for us as far as compensation is concerned? The question is, do we do the calculations with the current value, or do we just allow them to decide what they will give to us, which is okay for starters?
Now, finally, in regards to matters, the visit by the king, I know the UK has been on the spot for many times before. Top among the times that the UK has been on the spot was when former President Uhuru Kenyatta and current President William Ruto are facing charges at the ICC, and the UK was on the spot because the two were on the verge of ascending to power, and despite pressure from different quarters, the UK then stood firm and said, regardless of whatever the two are being charged against, of course, in the ICC, they will still ensure that the relations between Kenya and the UK are not ruined. And immediately President William Ruto was, President Uhuru Kenyatta was elected into office, despite the cases he had against, leveled against him in the ICC. The UK invited him, and then the communication from the monarch was that regardless, Kenya, Kenya still, Kenya is forgetting the term, but Kenya is a close ally of the UK, and we will continue working with Kenya, regardless of whatever happens, regardless of whether the president himself would have been found guilty or not. Now, fast forward, his deputy then, that is William Ruto, is now the president, and the king is coming in when President William Ruto is in power, and he faced charges in the ICC. Now, that would sort of put President William Ruto on the spot in terms of trying to, because we've talked about issues that need to be addressed. It would sort of put President William Ruto on the spot in terms of him not being so, vocal in regards to the issue of compensation, and like you said, that would be a time that probably people from Nyeri County, the Mau Mau, would want the deputy president to address these issues, because if these issues are not addressed now, then there cannot be any other opportunity to address them.
As far as national interests are concerned, they must always reign supreme than an individual. Okay. The queen, the king's mother was the queen back then, when they said that, and now she's long gone, and the king, her son, is in control of UK. He's the king, but he understands that interests reign supreme. The relationship between Kenya and UK is bigger than any individual. The king will be the king for some time, then another person will take over from him. William Ruto will not be president forever, he will be president for 10 years, but the bilaterals that will happen now are going to reign for a very long time, even after William Ruto is out of office, even after the king is long gone, and that is what is more important. If you look at this relationship between Kenya and UK, it has lived as long as 1963, even before 1963, as our colonizers. And so moving forward, it is quite important to address the things that have not been addressed for so long. Mau Mau died in hope that the UK was going to compensate. I remember sometimes back there was a case that was ruled by court. I can't remember the actual details.
There have been several cases in court.
Yeah, there have been several cases. And so even the British intelligence, I'm sure right now, they have gone through our social media accounts in Kenya, and they are able to gather the intel that one of the things that we expect the king to address is the issue of compensation. So it might not necessarily even have come from the president, but it would be better if it comes from the president. But the British intelligence, as we speak right now, has updated the king on the expectations that Kenyans have from his speech or his 4 days that he's going to be here. And so that will be one of the key factors that Kenyans are eagerly waiting to hear as addressed. And by the way, if they give us a compensation, no matter the size of compensation, it will be a very big boost to our economy. We might not tell them this is what we want or this is how we want you to compensate, but at least come with a form of compensation. And any form of compensation, according to your wisdom, will boost our economy right now. So it is up to them to discuss it and address it, because we want to hear it addressed. This has been a thorn in the flesh for so long in this country. And now the king, it's good we hear it from the horse's mouth right now. Because if the king does not address it now, we might as well have to forget about that issue, put it to rest, and never discuss it again. Because he's right in the middle of the country. He's in the country.
Now, before we go for a break, what is the significance of this visit in you know in culturally? Because Kenya and the UK do enjoy you know, a lot of relations in terms of culture and sports.
Yeah.
But I really want us to focus on culture.
Yeah.
And you know, some of the things that you alluded to, they stole from us.
Yeah.
What is the significance of this trip in terms of, you know, our cultural beliefs and relations with the UK?
First, the UK is a big brother in terms of colonization, and so we have borrowed so much from them, or they enforced so much from us. We have a culture where we drive from the right, our cars, we drive from the left. That is borrowed from UK. That's a culture that has been passed down to us from UK. They said we must speak in English, that English must be our national language. That is one of the cultures they have passed down to us. And so as far as training and teaching us some of the things and bringing us at par with the current world is concerned, they have played a very big role. And so for that we are thankful. We have so many culture. We have a lot of culture that we have borrowed from them. Some are good, some are bad.
Some are good, some are bad.
Yeah, some are good, some are bad.
One would wonder, what are these bad, you know, cultural things that we've borrowed from the UK?
Like the issue of marriage, you know, we have our African marriage setups and our beliefs around the, you know, such things. But if you look at UK, how they try to enforce some of the things they do there, that is uncultural, that's un-African for us. But we cannot stop them. How we respond, you know, is up to us.
Again, one of, you know, the issues that people expect the king and, you know, the president to address is the issue of LGBTQ.
Yeah.
Because UK has been, you know, England has been on the forefront in ensuring that, in saying everybody's rights must be, you know, respected. Yeah. And for them, it is okay to belong to whichever group.
Yeah.
At some point, they were, you know, sort of, they wanted to even, you know, they had issues with going for the World Cup because in Qatar, that is not allowed.
Yeah.
But they had to bow to the pressure in terms of, you know, respecting the decisions of other people. Do you expect the king to address or talk about the issue of, you know, LGBTQ? Because there have been in recent times there were rulings and people did hold demonstrations opposing the ruling by the court, which, you know, said the NGO board was wrong to, you know, decline registering the association here in the country.
He may not necessarily have to speak about it outrightly, but you might hear that they have allocated some fund to go to LGBTQ, you know, rights movement. So that is a big talk, not necessarily talking with the mouth, but the issue of funding, I'm sure those are some of the things they would try. And I think it is important for UK to realize that Kenya is an independent state and respect our culture. We do not entertain LGBTQ in this country. That is an African. So if they could be advised by someone, tell them to keep off that subject. That is an African for us. But now it begs the question why our Kenyan courts and everybody seems now to be warming up to the issue of LGBTQ. The other day we saw the courts have allowed, you know, our constitution says that gayism is illegal in this country. But not long ago, the courts allowed for them to form organizations. That is like to say, we have allowed thieves who are illegal, who are not supposed to, you know, it is illegal to be a thief in this country. We have allowed thieves to form an organization to speak on their behalf. Where is this warmth coming from? Where is this reception coming from? That tells you these people are very powerful and they have a hand in them in this country. And so maybe not they will address it, but that's not a big concern as far as our economy is concerned. We have matters of urgency, like the former president said to Obama. We have more important things to discuss than the issue of LGBTQ in this country. But of course, you can expect some funding to go into these groups.
Well, fair enough. I mean, some of the things that we, of course, will be shedding light on is the issue of, the murder of Agnes Wanjiru by a British soldier in, Laikipia, and her body was dumped in a septic tank. And of course, the family was seeking audience with the king in regards to that particular issue, seeking compensation. That is one of the issues that, of course, we'll be following up for you in regards to the visit by the king, as well as, other issues of economic importance, like Mr. William Kamau talks about, of what significance is the visit by the king to the country, and what does it mean for us as Kenyans, what is in store for the country, among many other issues. On that note, we just take a short breather, and then we'll be back to now talk about matters, the war on graft. Don't go away.
Introducing the Kenya Trade Fair Fusion Sales Drive event in the heart of Nairobi at the Kenya National Archives. It's not just an event, it's sales generation with a remarkable return on investment. Get ready to let your booth do the talking as you study new market trends with lots of entertainment featuring traditional live bands, DJs and artists. For vendor registration, call 0724-715-334 or 0713-907-584 or 0723-861-173.
Once again, tuko hapa Angel Center for Abandoned Kids, all because of you.
My name is Catherine Wanjiru Njero. I am the admin, Angel Center for Abandoned Children. Our founder is Wamaitha Mwangi. We currently have 64 children, 32 going to school, and among those 32, 2 are special children, and we are left at the home with 32. Now the toddlers and the infants. To the RUTO Foundation, thank you so much for remembering us. Guy, we lack words. We lack words. Amazing. We don't know what to say. Thank you for remembering us. You made a promise and you have delivered. And may God bless you. To my fellow Kenyans, as usual, cheza loto, sio ndoto. Angel Center tumeshinda loto.
Every time you play Lotto, 25% goes to the RUTO Foundation, which supports our fellow Kenyans through various causes. Thank you for your help. Together, we are changing lives.
Are you looking for an office space? 4th Avenue Towers is a professionally designed 25-story executive office that is conveniently located at the heart of the Medical and Legal Services Square within community area. The office is easily accessible from both Valley Road and Ngong Road. Professionals and business people now have the opportunity to own a premium piece of office space, the optimum choice for the modern professional. Key utilities include 24-hour security with CCTV surveillance, high-speed internet access, ample and secure parking, high-speed elevators, power backup generator, open rooftop and a restaurant. 4th Avenue, an amazing product of Fusion Capital. Fusion Capital, rooted in the African growth story. RUAE.
Well, many thanks for staying with us this particular morning. In case you're joining us, this is the Morning Drift. We are having a conversation. We're having a conversation with Mr. William Kamau, in regards to the visit by the King. And just before we jump to matters, the war on graft, because we are now joined by Mr. Silas Akiru, who is an advocate of the High Court. Very good morning to you, sir.
Good morning to you, Ian. How are you?
I'm doing great. Before we talk about matters graft, I really want to know from your end, what do you expect from the visit by the King to the country?
Well, as usual, rhetorics, Kenya has been at the heart of the UK, talk of bilateral talks, checking on historical sites, maybe revisiting, of course, where the late mother to the current king was when she was called back home, that the father had died. Remember the story?
Yes.
It was here.
Hotel?
It was here in the country.
Yes.
And I think those are some of the touch bases for the king during his stay in the country.
Now, thank you very much. Once again, I'd want to stick with you. Now, let's talk matters, the war on graft.
Okay.
In your own opinion, as well as an advocate of the High Court, the first question would be, are we winning the war on corruption as a country?
It's an outright no. Yeah. Why do I say so? Because as long as graft will be politicized and there would be a disparity or a difference between, we call them sacred cows and non-sacred cows in the war on graft, then there is nowhere we're going to as a country. Today, if EACC will tell you that we have been able to recover maybe $1 trillion on graft basis, then you ask them, where are the perpetrators? Count for you, John Waluke, where is he? Is he inside? Henry Rotich?
Not at all.
Where are they?
Free.
Talk of everybody that has been mentioned, adversely mentioned on graft allegations, where are they? Nowhere to be seen. Probably you'll get a peasant in the village. Who has maybe attempted to bribe the police officers with 50 bob and caught. Those are the ones you would see. The other day, we saw a police officer being arrested in Kakamega over graft. And you ask, what is the graft issue? 50 bob. Then when you talk about billions being smuggled into and out of the country, then you ask, where are the asset recovery agents and the agencies? KRA, what are they doing? Can a phone call come from up informing KRA to clear that consignment at the Kenyan ports? Would they say, no, we have found something sinister here that we cannot allow into the country? They can't. Remember, there were times when a very high-ranking office was caught up in arms deal. And I believe much of it was not aired. But at the time, Sudan was under international arms embargo, meaning no country would trade arms with Sudan. So it was a deal to have Kenya as a route pass of arms into Sudan through proxies. And of recent, we've had some of the high-ranking officers voicing out their concerns, statements, and stand on the war in Sudan. And we've seen responses from the Sudanese generals. Then where did this happen? But how much was that? It was rated at, is it $41 billion, something like that. Or $41 million or something like that. I don't have the clear numbers. So when you have sacred cows in the country, Ian, and you have then have-nots being picked up, chicken sellers, chicken thieves being picked up, whose graft deals have no significance at all in the country's graft menace. But then you leave those who are looting the country to death continue to do so. I always give an example, NYS scandal. Where is the person who was adversely mentioned? A political office. And that is why when I was here last time, if you could trace my clips maybe after this, I gave the characteristics or qualities of a good politician in the country. Qualities that can win you politics. And number one is that you must be seriously corrupt. Because majority of these corrupt guys, we find them getting seats. And you go there, working right, working wherever. Look at PLO when he was leading ESCC. Kidogo kidogo, he was ousted from the position. And some people try to say that some guy was sent with some cash and then he was pictured, wakamwekelea akaenda. So those who are actually standing strong and fighting corruption, calling corruption what it should be called, are actually getting pardons and audiences from high office, protection from high offices.
Now, talking about high offices, I want to come to you, Mr. Kamau. The president has sort of, you don't want to say, like Wakili has alluded to, the issue of rhetoric. Recently, the president did slam some of the judges in the judiciary, and slam them over what he said, the unending stay orders. But on one hand, the president talks stuff on matters corruption. On the other, he has been appointing people into office who have a backlog of corruption cases hovering over their heads. Who is fooling who?
Very good question. You see, corruption in this country is a well choreographed syndicate on all levels of governance and structures and justice. My good friend, if I steal $1 billion shilling today, I just need a good lawyer to represent me. Then he needs to know the judge who is going to preside over that matter. And I will be white as snow again.
Seek audience in chambers.
Exactly. So as long as corruption will not be a capital offense in this country, which by the way has no much significance, as long as the custodians of our justice system are still corrupt, then this culture of corruption will continue reigning from one generation to the other. I go back to the issue of the president appointing such corrupt fellas in office. When the president came in office, there's something that happened. I don't know whether they knew the impact that had on us as the people of this country, or it did not have. Some of the people who had cases pending in court, serious cases, serious allegations, their cases were withdrawn. So we were left wondering and questioning the independence of our judicial system. Because first, William Ruto's predecessor made sure that these guys were arraigned in court and they had cases. Then William Ruto comes in, another president, these guys' cases are withdrawn and they go ahead to be appointed in various places. Now, is our judicial system independent, or someone has to control or has a lot of influence on them? That's a question for another day. But that tells you, as long as the judicial system is corrupt, we will never ever get to enjoy the independence of a corrupt-free country in this country. It will not happen anytime soon. And I think if they want to help this country, because allow me to say, corruption is the most profitable business in this country. You do not need to have a business idea or a business strategy to be wealthy. You just need to be in a position of influence, either in government
or in an organization. As long as politicians will continue being the wealthiest people in this country, than manufacturers, than businessmen, then that tells you the kind of third world country we are going to be and for how long. We can project, by the way, when we are going to stop being a second world country, a third world country. It is the day we will see corruption declining in this country. And when will that be? If we want to help this country, let's agree that we cannot now bend these old guys. We cannot teach old dog new tricks. These guys are corrupt to the core. And actually, we are all corrupt. In fact, they say if you find someone in Kenya complaining about corruption, it's only that they don't have a chance to steal. If you get a chance to steal, you are good. So as long as we will not change the next generation to start thinking of corruption as evil, then we are going to be a third world for a very long time. The only time we can change this country is these guys agree and say, hey, it is impossible to be redeemed from corruption. It is our culture. It is enshrined in our culture. So let us teach the vice of corruption in the country as early as childhood education. Let's change the way of thinking of the next generation by teaching the vices of corruption. But as long as they will grow in a country where they see politicians are the most wealthiest people, these children will always aspire to be politicians to be wealthy.
Now, question is, you've talked about sort of the judiciary having some sort of loopholes that do need to be solved. Before I go back to Wakili, are these just technicalities within the judiciary, or do you really term them as political interference? Because the executive arm of government has been on the spot for some time, year in, year out of trying to interfere with the affairs of the judiciary, and the president came into power in the backdrop of promising to ensure that there is that judicial independence.
As long as the character of the people in charge of these systems can be compromised, then a system or an organization is as good as the character of the people in charge of it. As long as we have people in those organizations who can be compromised, then we do not have institutions to fight corruption. Whether we will call them independent or not, whether we say the president or politicians are interfering with them or not, as long as the people, the custodians of these systems and these organizations can be compromised, then we still don't have the independence of these institutions. Our Wakili today is waiting for a criminal to call him and say, I have been charged with 100,000 case. And Wakili will say, sasa yangu hapo ni ngapi? I have this, what do you call them, judges? Yeah, judge hapo ni ngapi? You see, the law, every person on every level of our justice system is waiting for people to steal there to come and share the loot. Unfortunately, that is the state of our country. And as long as that will always be the sequence, then that tells you we will never know the independence of these institutions. If Wakili can be compromised here, he's just a Wakili by name. He will be the wealthiest Wakili in town. He will drive the biggest vehicle in the town. Every criminal will rush to him. Unajua, if you get that Wakili, good friend of mine, that guy, he knows everybody in the system. And what happens? He becomes the wealthiest in the society. He drives the biggest. He lives the lavish. And now that is the kind of mentality with every Kenyan down there.
Well, fair enough. Wakili, coming back to you. Most or many a times, we talk about when there are corruption cases. We talk about there is that need for this law to be put into place, or for this law to be enacted to ensure that we can seal this loophole. Understand? But again, we focus so much on enacting laws that can prevent corruption as opposed to tackling corruption as it should be. So is it a case of too many laws, too little justice?
Well, what I can say is that without moral discipline as a country, there is no amount of laws that can instill integrity in the human being. And I always say that humans have no capacity to make lasting laws because they will not honor those laws. If I may ask you, since you woke up, do you know how many laws of the country that you've broken? Go to the kenyalaw.org website. Have a look at all the acts of parliament, pieces of regulations, we call them subsidiary legislations, policies and guidelines that are there. You will find that you have broken so many laws of this country, which you are ignorant of, meaning you are never aware of their existence. So, today something comes up in the public glare, we are rushing to parliament to make laws. Once the issue is out of the public glare, many Kenyans will forget that there was a law that was enacted to that effect. Let me give you an example. One day, I was at the public trustee. One of the very wonderful employees there, an advanced wakili in terms of age and intellect and wisdom. So I sat her at her office and she began to give me some very beautiful insight. I call it beautiful because she told me that there was a parliamentarian from Northeastern who approached her office and demanded that certain actions be taken immediately. She asked her, or rather she asked him to take the constituents outside so that they may be able to talk. In the discussion, she showed the parliamentarian a piece of legislation that the parliamentarian who made the law was not aware of. But that law had to be followed in order for the action that the parliamentarian needed to be undertaken. But what shocked me is that this was actually the majority leader then in the National Assembly, but was ignorant of that particular specific piece of legislation. So Kenya is not devoid of laws that can be able to curb corruption or even bring people to book or clear out the dirt of improprieties, corruption or improprieties in the country. The issue here is moral integrity. And that is why Chapter 6 of the Kenyan Constitution is a whole chapter on integrity.
But, I mean, someone would want to argue that Chapter 6 is just there. I mean, many a times, if we were really to take it seriously, we wouldn't be having most of the leaders that we have. It is there in book, Ian. That's what I'm coming to.
It is there in book. But can I instill, is there any school that you can go to enforce integrity in you, Ian? Is there any school you can go to infuse and subsume and diffuse integrity within you, so that now you graduate, that you're now you are a person of integrity and live that integrity? No, you can't. So that's why I'm saying that it is not about making laws. It is about social responsibility. It is about advancing and advocating for moral integrity. Because if Kenyans do not inculcate that, there's a time when one of our leaders, again, I will always not mention them, but they're really giving us a very bad picture. He said, in a public gathering that he has no more morality left. There is nothing to defend his name for. So whatever it takes, let it go. So that means this is a person who can kill, and you see him killing, and then he comes back to you and says, I never killed. No sorry, no nothing. This is a person that can loot a widow to death, evict them anyhowly, without checking on any compensation for them. I mean, even there are customs, internationally recognized customs on acquisition of land, either by public or private individuals. And as a public officer, we have the issue of police power and eminent domain. And one of them you have to compensate. You say, hey, the road wants to pass through here. Oh, this is a public space. Oh, you are in a public wherever for squattering. Now, we want to take you to the other side. There is land that we found out somewhere. And then you see what these people are doing. Out of integrity and morality in the country, they just come at night, leave alone during the day. At night when you are asleep, in the cold, breezing night, they pull down your house, tear out everything belonging to you, pasua, or rather they break your glasses, and anything that belongs to you is now buried down, and you are forced to leave your house. Tell me, can this person really be a custodian of corruption, a corruption-free country? Can he? He can't.
Wakili, let me just ask you one question in regards to the issue of integrity and, Chapter 6. Because one would question, how effective is Chapter 6? Before last year's general election, at least 250 candidates were, flagged as having, cases, not only corruption, but criminal charges against them. But still, they were cleared to vie. Now, you've talked about you cannot, go to a school somewhere and, have integrity instilled into you. But we have that particular, Chapter 6 to ensure that we have proper leaders in office. But we don't. A huge chunk of those leaders in Parliament, and even those who are appointed, presidential appointees, do not meet the requirements of Chapter 6. Then, where are we having it?
Now, Ian, take it this way. We agree that Kenya is corrupt. Actually ranked among the top in Africa. I think top 3 or top 5, so something to say. Then, we want to choose from among the corrupt Kenyans a few whose corruption levels have not been detected. And then we put them at the gates of the city into corruption battle. Then we leave them to fight corruption from the corrupt Kenyans. Ian, the corrupt Kenyans would still find a way of penetrating to corrupt the less corrupt custodians. And if any refuses to accept the corruption enticements, then they are political threats. One day I was laughing at a meme, and somebody, he drew a picture of heaven, and an angel now looking at the book, whether the name is there. So he is told, Jinako Aiko, you just go down to hell. So the guy holds 100 shilling, Kenyan shilling. And then he's like, he hands it over to the angel and say, angalia tena mkubwa. and then it will be like, nimeona jina yako. So you see such kind of depictions. Yes, Ian, you want to ask a question?
Yeah. Just finish up before I ask Mr. Kamal this.
You see that those kinds of depictions in what the Swahili call fasihi, kioo cha jamii, a mirror to the society on social media. The other day with your co-anchor, Simba, I was so much agitated that Kenyans would take live threats from the president as light as a comic statement and begin to move around in comedy the 3 words, mambo matatu, instead of calling out this public officer for threatening citizens. And that is what is done with corruption. You are corrupt today, Kenyans think of comedy. Put them and they laugh. So what do we want then, Mr. Ian? We want more comedians. And if we want more comedians, meaning we want more corrupt leaders to give us more corruption avenues so that we may be able to make comedies. That is our society.
Coming to you, Mr. Kamau. The issue of Chapter 6, how can it be effected? Because we cannot just be having, all this enactments in place, but we cannot, effect it. If at all we are, to achieve the issue of, the fight against corruption, we have to effect Chapter 6.
There is no amount of law that can fight corruption in this country. In fact, corruption is a helpless case in this country. If we got leaders with just the goodwill to fight corruption, they would unite Kenyans in a magnificent way. But unfortunately, even Kenyans are corrupt because leaders are a representation of who we are as a society. Okay? We do not elect angels from Uganda or from heaven to lead us. We pick people amongst ourselves and make them our leaders. Our inability to vote for integrity is responsible for the corruption of this country. We can vote anything or anyone in this country, but we turn a blind eye on the integrity. We cannot legislate character. There is no amount of legislation can be written for people to be in right character. Never. What we can do as a nation moving forward, we need to accept corruption as a way of life. We need to start taxing corruption. If today it is alleged that you have stolen 1 billion, you pay taxes up to 60% of what has been mentioned. If all the people who have been mentioned in corrupt cases, if they paid taxes on the corruption cases, then we would have recovered a lot of that corruption. So we need to accept corruption as a way of life in this country. Let us accept it. Let us start taxing corruption in this country. That is the only way to move forward. It is a helpless fight in this country. It is us. These leaders are us. We represent these people.
Taxing corruption. In the wake of Kenyans lamenting about the high taxation, over taxation. So, like you say, we need to tax corruption.
Let's tax corruption. Let's accept corruption as a way of life.
Of course, tax corruption.
Yes, we tax corruption.
And then loot the tax again.
We put it back. Yeah, now we create a cycle.
Yes. I should hold on to that thought.
Yes.
We'll give a short break and then we'll talk more about taxing corruption. And there's the issue of perception versus reality, because many Kenyans perceive that fighting corruption is the job of those institutions, ESCC, the DPP. Yeah. But in real sense, the issue of fighting corruption begins with each and every Kenyan, each and every individual. Yeah. So there's the issue of perception versus reality. Yeah. But we'll talk about that, of course, after this short break. We're taking a short break, but of course we're talking about matters, the war on graft here in the country. We've been talking about fighting graft year in, year out. Every election period, we talk about graft. Each politician campaigns and says, I will be able to fight corruption if I get that opportunity. Once they get into power, it is absolutely different. The scenario is different. So don't go away, because we'll be coming back to talk about that. And what could be the possible solutions in regards to fighting corruption here in the country.
On the 2nd and 3rd of November 2023, join thousands of leaders from across the country and beyond level. This premier leadership event, the Global Leadership Summit, will be hosted at Sitam Karen. World-class speakers at the summit this year include Pastor Craig Groeschel, the GLS champion, Condoleezza Rice, former Secretary of State of the United States of America, Pat Gelsinger, the CEO of Intel Corporation, Chris Methabula, South Africa, among others. Local speakers include Dr. David Oginde, the Chairperson of Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission, Dennis Njao, the Director of Payments and Retail Banking at Equity Bank Limited, Julius Kipngetich, the Group CEO, Jubilee Insurance, Margaret Sirma of the College of Health Science at Nairobi Hospital, George Njuguna, Director of Information and Technology at Safaricom PLC, Bishop Callisto Odede, the presiding Bishop of Christ is the Answer Ministries. Summit fee is Kenya shillings 2,900. Register now through paybill 825500, account number GLS 2023. For more information, call 0722 490 325. Register now. The Global Leadership Summit. Lead where you are.
Upande huu wa Ilpolei tumepata kiangazi muda mrefu sana. Ng'ombe zimekufa.
Today we are in Ilpolei in Laikipia North, and guess what? We're here with Loto Foundation. We're ready to give food to the community. Leo ni njema kabisa.
Asante sana.
Munasema asante.
Tunashukuru tena tuletee. Asante, Mungu awabariki na tukumbuke kesho kutu.
Every time you play Lotto, 25% goes to the Lotto Foundation, which supports our fellow Kenyans through various causes. Thank you for your help. Together, we are changing lives.
Are you an SME looking for a media partner? Look no more, as Lookuptv got you covered for all your visibility and marketing needs. We at Lookuptv understand your business needs and want to work with you on your marketing journey, giving you solutions that will take you to the next level. Call us today on 0707 572 358 or send an email to sales@lookuptv.co.ke and kickstart this amazing journey. Welcome to Lookuptv, your official SME media partner.
Now, many thanks for staying with us. Let's just get straight back into it. Remember, you can engage with us across social media at Lookuptv on Instagram, Facebook, as well as X. Do let us know, what are your views in regards to matters corruption? Do you feel as a country we're winning the war against corruption or not? What is the state of the fight against corruption? Now, just before I come to you, Akili, I want to engage Mr. Kamau, beg your pardon, on the issue of perception versus reality. Now, EACC in the last 1 year repossessed around 33 illegally acquired property, amounting to around 11 billion.
Yeah.
Now, EACC is one of the institutions mandated with tackling matters corruption, but they cannot win the war by themselves. It is a collective responsibility. Are Kenyans failing on their part in regards to the fight against corruption?
Yeah.
Because as well, earlier on you talked about, you know, we have the opportunity through the ballot to elect people of integrity.
Yes.
But we end up electing, like Wakili alluded to, the more corrupt you are, the higher chances of you know, being elected.
Yes. We have a chance to elect people of integrity at the ballot, but unfortunately we end up electing people like us. People who only lack opportunity to steal.
What do you mean people like us?
Because I told you, leaders are a reflection of who we are.
I'm about to say,
I'm telling
what do you mean people like us?
No, I'm telling you the truth. Where does corruption come from? These are guys who come to the village with 200 shillings for each voter. Okay, you vote these people based on what they give you, not what they are telling you, not with their track record, not with the integrity record, but with what you're getting. You need to ask yourself as a Kenyan, this politician is able to buy all these voters. Where is that money coming from? You must be stupid enough to know that money does not come from somewhere. Money comes from somewhere. And when they are elected into office, that money has to go back where it came from. There is no free lunch. If someone is promising to give you free lunch, then you are the free lunch. If someone is giving you 200 shillings to vote, then you are the lunch. You are the development money that was meant to come to you. Allow me to say that corruption has killed more Kenyans in this country, more than malaria, HIV, and cancer combined, at all levels of institutions, from the hospital institution, from the judicial system, every level of this country, there is massive corruption. You know, Ian, if we want to save this country from corruption, let's overtax Kenyans. If we overtax Kenyans and they feel the pain of paying taxes, ukisikia kuna mtu ameiba 200 million somewhere, I'm telling you, Kenyans will gather from all corners of this walk and they will go to the street and march and remove that person from office. If we can be able to, you know, the law, somebody said the law is an ass, and the law is truly an ass. If, as long as, you know, this recovery agent teams, bodies, and EACC does not have the power to try someone, you know, empower these institutions with power, that we are not only going to recover from you. Yes, we have recovered, but we have the power to sentence you, not necessarily through a judge. As long as we have recovered, you cannot prove where you got this money. We bypass the process of judicial system, that money has and assets have been recovered. That warrants you to a certain sentence without stepping to a court of law. Then we can be able to start saying we are moving somewhere. But as long as the agency, the recovery agents and the ACC will hold you, will catch you with a certain money, assets stolen from Kenyans, and then they take you through the judicial system where a wakili is waiting for you, where a corrupt judge is waiting for you, then there is no hope. Wakili said something in the beginning of this conversation. Money and assets have been recovered. But what happened to the people that was recovered from? Where are they? They are scotting free. Why? Because the law is for them. They are able to buy their freedom. Are you getting Ian? So we need to be able to give Kenyans the power to take, you know, matters into their own hands. As long as someone has been proven guilty, then allow Kenyans, don't take this person to a cell. Say, now this person has stolen this amount of money. Let's go and shoot this person, Uhuru Park. Let's spray them with bullets. If you're able to do that to one person, well, not to one person only.
You see.
Now the question is, who can lead us to that direction? Because the people who can lead us to that direction will be the first culprits of the shooting. They will never allow for that to come. And that is why I'm saying, let us either overtax Kenyans, they feel the pain of their of their money being stolen, or will legalize corruption. That is the only way forward. It is a helpless case. You know, Ian, when we say we cannot legislate morality, then that tells you it is the love of money that beats every upbringing and every, you know, cultural, you know, structure that we have been brought up in. Unfortunately or fortunately, this country is made of 80% Christians, maybe close to 20 Islamic. These are guys who have been brought up being told how stealing is bad, how injustice is bad. We have these Christians and Muslims in offices today. That tells you the love of money bypasses every teaching, every culture, every value system that we were brought up with. How do we tell young children that being corrupt is bad when these are the celebrities of this land, when these are the wealthy, these are the who's and the who's? Every child dreams to be a politician in this country. But why? Being a doctor does not pay. Being a good lawyer does not pay. Being a good host like you on TV does not pay. You cannot afford to drive the biggest of cars. Why? You're not in a place of looting. If we put you in a place of looting, your life changes overnight. You inspire all the children there down there in your village. Hey, Kwani, what does he do nowadays? Hey, he's a politician. He's in charge of a certain organization. Oh, I want to be like Ian. Now, unfortunately, that is the kind of a country we are dealing with.
I mean, you'd want to say that is one of the reasons as to why you'd hear politicians boast about how much money they have.
Yeah,
the majority will,
and we will vote them out of that.
He said, I can pay you to listen to me. You can just listen to me. Once we're done, line up. I have enough money to pay all of you.
And we clap, and we don't even listen to what they are saying. We don't listen to their manifesto. We don't listen to a thing. We are waiting for them to talk quickly as fast as they can, so that at the end of their conversation, they're able to line us and give us 200 shillings. That's all we care about. And until we change that mindset, then that tells you the kind of a country we are going to have for as long as we have that mindset. And that is to say, the next 30, 40 years, this is a helpless case. Let's train the next generation. The children we are giving birth to, let them tell corruption is bad. Let's even tell them money is evil. We just lie to them and tell them money is evil, so that they grow up hating money. But as long as we continue worshipping money, man.
Fair enough. Wakili, coming to you.
Yes.
Mr. Kamau's touched on the institutions and the role they play. Now, the new Director General of the NIS was the ODPP, Mr. Haji.
Yes.
In his defense, because he was questioned in regard to the withdrawal of cases. Most of those withdrawals were cases against appointees, presidential appointees, including the deputy president. Regarding Gachagua case worth billions of money. Aisha Jumwa. There's Mary Wambui, who was appointed by the president to the Communication Authority of Kenya. There's the case of Ben Shumo of Kenya Power. There's the case of businessman who's a close ally of the president, Mr. Humphrey, is it Karanja? And the DPP said there's lack of evidence. Is it really a case of lack of evidence, or is there a political hand? Because on the other hand, EACC does say we have evidence to prosecute these people, but the ODPP says there's lack of evidence. We don't have enough evidence to prosecute all these people. But the pattern itself in the withdrawal of the cases says something different.
Ian, in 2019, the ODPP published a guideline on the decision to charge. You'll find it online. Before a matter is brought to court, the ODPP these days must have a say. Meaning, you are suspected, the police are notified. During their investigations, they may send an inquiry file to the ODPP, who will look at the reasons why you think this person should be charged, look at the law, look at the evidence, because they are the only lawyers, by the way. The ODPP is a legal office. People who work there, majority of them are advocates of the High Court of Kenya. They look at the law, they look at the evidence, they have a look at the elements, have they been matched, and then they say they return a verdict, arrest this person, and arraign him or her in court. So, by the time these cases were being brought to court on the initial preliminary instances, the ODPP had a look at what was on the ground. And they were aware, or rather, they approved the decision to charge these people. Withdrawal of these suits before even the judge, before even the judge gives a verdict as to whether these people are innocent or not, is an afterthought. Because the ODPP, once they have arraigned me in court or charged me, then my acquittal lies with the bench. The ODPP should present its case, that weak case they think there is no evidence, so that the judge may say there is no evidence. The person is acquitted. But now when they come 2 years, 3 years, 5 years later to say that we are doing this because there's no evidence, yet the people they say, the people whose cases they say have no evidence, are close to the powers that be. One man in Kenya said, "What is wajenga bwana?" So you see, Ian, we have asset recovery agencies, and let me mention them for you. At the gates is the KRA. We have the DCI. Different units are there. DCI land grabbing unit, DCI whatever unit, they are there. Then we have the EACC, Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission. And when we talk about morality, that is why the government does not look for legal minds to put in charge of the EACC, because they know this is not a law requiring entity. It is a morality requiring entity. Who was the immediate former EACC chair? Was it Wabukala?
Yes.
Eliud Wabukala?
Yes.
His credentials? Is he a lawyer? Was a priest, theologian?
Same to the current.
Same to the current. That's why I was saying.
Isn't that a moral compass?
And you see, that's why these people leave a very rotten and smelly egg in the eye of the church. Where is morality? And that now brings me to a reaction on a statement made by my colleague a few minutes ago. But we can take books or things into our hands. Remember, what is good for the goose is also good for the gander. Today, Ian can be properly prosecuted by the court of public opinion and even massacred. Tomorrow, somebody will accuse me, or I can be properly prosecuted and killed. Tomorrow, somebody accuses you. What he is saying was the pre-law order of operations. Then people sat down and said, no, come to my office. What is your case? What is your case? Make a decision, you are on the wrong. That is why we had this doctrine, legal doctrine or common law doctrine, that you are innocent until proven guilty. Remember, there are loopholes on both sides. We can misuse it on both sides. But it is worse if we misuse it on the innocent. So I'd rather let people be hard. The issue is we try to clean up corruption from the judiciary so that the hearing can be free and fair.
Before I come to you, Mr. Kamau,
Yeah.
it's good, Okili, because you've talked about the role of or those clergymen who've been appointed to lead the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission. One would dare to ask then, what is the role of religion, the Muslim clerics, Christianity, the bishops in the fight against corruption? Because we talk of it as a collective responsibility, meaning they also do have a role to play. So what is the role of this religious entities?
I do not want to talk about the role of these religious entities because they too lack moral compass. When you look at them struggling over church positions, even buying congregations to vote the other round, we look at them with morally questionable characters. But if you ask me, what ought to be the role of religious entities? Not these ones. Then, as it has been so perceived by the Kenyan government that the church is the moral compass that can be able to lead the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission on integrity levels, then the church ought to be the nation's moral compass. Because morality, as we said, cannot be taught, subsumed, or instilled inside humanity through lessons from a lesser power. I am a Christian. I believe in the power above the power that we know, that can be able to make changes. And so, if the pulpit, but I'm actually in the final stages of my book called The Debris of Theology, A Cloud on the Gospel, The Debris of Theology. And in that book, I have my chapter 5 discussing pulpit politicking. Pulpit politicking. So that if the pulpit can be swept clean, then the pew can be a properly trained, moral persons of integrity. We will have no problem with our chapter 6 of the Constitution. We will have no problem.
Well, fair enough. Mr. Kamau, coming back to you, I even before you add to what he says, Wakili has talked about institutions and ESCC and all that.
Yeah.
Sometimes, and this question has been asked time and again, is there some sort of failure to work together between these commissions, between the ODPP and the ESCC?
Yeah.
Is there some sort of there have been questions why they sort of read from different scripts?
Yeah. A product must be as good as the process. I'm not a lawyer, but I have so much interest in law. He who alleges must prove.
Exactly.
If you cannot prove, which is a process, if you can be able to compromise the process of proving, then the law can be on your side. The laws can sanctify you from all the allegations. Okay? I told you earlier as we started this conversation, as long as the custodians of these processes, of these institutions, of these organizations can be compromised, then rest assured we will never have justice in this country. Never, not a single day. I'm giving you solutions on how to deal with corruption in this country. We can change the law on how to deal with corruption cases. One, let's devolve corruption. Let's make sure that he who steals must share the loot with the people down there.
That corruption is
how do we do that? Now, that I'm telling you, we are dealing with a hopeless case. How do we devolve corruption? Let us introduce a Julie kind of system to deal with corruption cases. So that if you have to buy a lawyer, you don't just buy one lawyer or one judge. You have to buy an entire Julie that is made of like 20 people. So if you have stolen 1 billion, you have to include these 20 people of the Julie. This is not a joke, by the way. We need to know how to devolve corruption, because I'm telling you, dealing with corruption is a helpless case in this country. By the way, if a president can lead in the fight
against corruption, let me tell you, he would not last a day in office. He can even be assassinated. Yeah. If we start dealing throughout history on corruption in this country, you will realize that all the wealthy families in these countries were at one point in politics, were at one point in power. They were not skilled businessmen. They were not shrewd business makers. They were politicians. So if we were to start digging historically on corruption in these cases, every powerful family in this country would face the law. And so if a president is helpless in fighting corruption, we need a crusader in office, by the way. We need someone who can die for this country in office. Someone who can face corruption head on and be assassinated and be a source of inspiration in this country. But who is that man? Who is that person? When a nation gets to a place that we can only ask for justice from God, nimekuachia Mungu. Nimekuachia Mungu. Now that tells you that is not a highly religious country. It is a highly corrupted country. That I can only believe that my justice will come from God. No, in a nutshell, that is our country. Now, I'm equally a very spiritual person. There is a scripture that asks, can a nation be born in a day? Now, that is only God who can answer. Yes, I believe a nation can be born in a day. We can go to bed and wake up the following day in a corrupt free nation. That can be only the work of a God. That cannot be, not our legislators, not our lawyers, not our judges. 100% the work of God. And so that is the helplessness of our country as far as corruption, graft is concerned. It is helpless. Let us start thinking in our own ways. How do we devolve corruption? Someone said someday, not long ago, they said, I beseech you, my corrupt brothers and sisters, please do not invest this corruption money in buildings, do manufacturing, do processing, employ Kenyans, do value addition with corruption money. He said, I think it was a she, please don't take this money outside the country, invest it in our country. And that person was 100% accurate with the truth about corruption. If we can be able to allow these people, you know, we protect this corruption money from living outside this country. We allow for that money to do manufacturing, to do value addition in this country, then that corruption can help us.
Well, Wakili, coming to you, even as we wrap up, like Mr. Kamo puts it, everybody is guilty of corruption. Even the former heads of state they've had cases of corruption. They've been mentioned several in various graft charges. Even those in the current regime. What is the end game? Because we seem to appreciate the phrase, the end justifies the means. What is the solution? Briefly, can you?
The solution to the corruption menace in the country would be for the society to understand that the war on corruption is a social responsibility that cuts across each and every Kenyan. And if the squatter can take his or her responsibility serious down there, and the men in uniform can also understand their mandate properly and execute it, and then our asset recovery agencies, which I mentioned, the DCI, KRA, we have the EACC, can also execute their mandate satisfactorily. And the judges, like Justice Professor Sifuna, called out a few. There's a clip that was going around. They say, Wakilis, please tell your clients not to call me. And he spoke that in court, and even calling out a specific Wakili and telling Wakili, your client called me last night trying to reach me through musicians and politicians. Please tell them to beef up their case with evidence and they win it. They shouldn't bump into my office. If the judges can be like Professor Sifuna, and corruption is actually obliterated from the judicial system. And then we have what Baron de Montesquieu envisioned in his 1948 book on democracy. He said there must be, or there should be, a separation of powers where the judiciary cannot bow to the executive, and the legislature also cannot bow to the executive. And just like Justice Ojwang stated during his interview, that when there are a government function, in which the president and the speakers of the National Assembly and the Senate, and then he is the Chief Justice of the Republic of Kenya, then if this is the function, then the chairs should be the same, because these are heads of the arms of government. So in that way, there is no way the president will misuse parliament, there is no way the president will misuse the judiciary, and there's no way the judiciary will misuse the president, and there's no way legislature will misuse the president. So in a nutshell, the war on graft is a public responsibility that Kenyans have to take up responsibly and execute responsibly. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. In a minute, Mr. Kamau, your parting shot.
I will wind this conversation by giving a short story that happened in ancient Persia of a corrupt judge who was bribed to give a verdict and turn a blind eye on justice. And it was so ugly such that the matter got to the king. So what the king did is that he skinned the corrupt judge alive. Removed the skin of that judge alive. And then made a chair with that skin. And made the son of the judge to be the next judge. So every time the son sat on that chair, he remembered that he sat on the skin of his corrupt father. And so it was the case of every other judge after that. To fight corruption, we have to be deliberate and intentional in very severe extremes to deal with corruption. Because corruption has killed more people than malaria in this country. So we need, one time the honorable member of Kiharu, Dende Nyoro, had proposed a bill to hang any corrupt person in this country. I don't know what happened to that law. And because he is one of the inspirational instruments in this country where young people are looking up to him, we would want to see an introduction of that bill at a time as this when corruption is rampant, so that we can try and salvage what is left of this country. Because what is left can save an entire generation. It is not too late to do the right thing.
Well, thank you very much, gentlemen. Thank you very much, Mr. Kamau, for making time to be with us this morning. Thank you very much, Wakili, for making time to join us this particular morning. Well, there has been the conversation this morning in regards to the war on graft. It is a collective responsibility. It is not the responsibility of those institutions mandated to fight corruption alone. And don't you forget that you could be contributing to cases of corruption through the leaders that you elect through the ballot or via the ballot. Now, thank you very much for making time to be with us this morning here on the Morning Drift. Remember, we are keeping tabs with the visit of the royal family. Remember, King Charles III and Queen Camilla did jet into the country yesterday. Like I alluded to earlier on, they will be in the country for 4 days, and of course, they expected to address the press today together with the president here in State House, Nairobi, as well as the Queen, who is expected to hold a series of meetings on key empowerment projects for women, together with the First Lady, that is Rachel RUTO. The King is also expected to tour various parts of the country. That includes Nyeri and Mombasa County. So we'll be keeping tabs on that particular story, and of course give you more details in regards to the significance of that particular visit by the king. Top among the issues, the issue of compensation of the colonial atrocities committed on Kenyans during beg your pardon, the colonial period. On that note, we'll also be following up on the issue of national examinations, it being day 2 of KPSEA and KCPE exams across the country. Now, that is all that we had for you this particular morning. I have been your host, Ian Keitany. Until tomorrow, not until tomorrow, because Simba Charles Aloda Kege will be coming back tomorrow from his trip from rural Kisii. We hope he'll bring some matoke for us. Simba, I hope you've had me. We need some matoke. And of course, he'll be here tomorrow morning to take you through the stories making headlines across the country. Of course, that will be the second day of King Charles's visit to the country. Until, of course, then, I'll be joining you tomorrow at 9 p.m. on The Insight. But remember, you can visit our website, www.lookuptv.co.ke, just to get an overview of the stories making headlines, not only here in the country, but as well across the borders. Until then, do have yourself a wonderful day. And like always, God bless.